Hey everyone, welcome back. I think a lot of us rely on that morning cup of coffee to get us going, but did you ever think it could actually be, good for you?
Yeah, it's funny, right? We think of coffee as this quick energy hit, but there's actually a whole lot more to it.
So that's what we're diving into today, is all about coffee's surprising health benefits, and we're pulling info from an episode of the Real Life English podcast.
And let me tell you, there are some seriously surprising things about coffee that most people just don't realize.
Okay, so first things first, how does coffee even give us that boost of energy? What's going on in our brains?
Well, it all comes down to this thing called adenosine. It's a neurotransmitter, and basically what it does is it makes us feel sleepy.
Oh, okay, got it.
So caffeine, the main active ingredient in coffee, comes in and blocks that adenosine from doing its thing.
So it's like caffeine is flipping the off switch on our sleepiness.
Precisely, and that's how we get that feeling of alertness.
Interesting. But it's not just about feeling awake, is it? The episode talked about coffee actually improving cognitive function. What does that even mean?
Well, studies have shown that caffeine can actually sharpen our memory.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
And it can speed up reaction time, too, and even improve focus.
So that's really helpful for, really long or mentally demanding tasks.
Yeah, exactly. Think about all those times you got to power through a long day at work or, study for a big exam.
Definitely. Okay, but what about coffee's effect on mood? Can coffee actually make us happier?
It really seems like it can. Caffeine stimulates the release of dopamine and serotonin.
Those are the feel-good chemicals, right?
Exactly. And they play a key role in regulating our mood. So yeah, caffeine can actually give us a mood boost.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So it's not just a temporary thing. Can coffee actually have a long-term positive impact on our mental health?
Well, there are actually studies that have linked regular coffee consumption to a lower risk of depression. It's really interesting stuff.
That's incredible. But, I have to ask, is there anything out there that, contradicts these findings?
Yeah, like with any research, there are always going to be some differing opinions, some studies that maybe show something a little different.
Right.
But I think overall, the evidence seems to point toward moderate coffee consumption being linked to improved mood and better mental health.
So it sounds like, as with most things in life, moderation is key.
Absolutely. And, everyone's individual response is going to be a little bit different, so it's important to listen to your own body and figure out what works best for you.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, but coffee's not just good for our brains, right? The episode mentioned something about antioxidants.
Oh, yeah, get this. Coffee is actually packed with antioxidants.
Wait, really? I always thought of, fruits and vegetables as the main source of antioxidants.
You'd think so, right? But, in a typical Western diet, coffee often ends up being the biggest source of antioxidants.
Hold on. Coffee has more antioxidants than fruits and veggies.
Seriously? Seriously?
Okay, I did not see that coming. Can you remind me, why are antioxidants so important for our health?
Well, antioxidants basically fight free radicals in our bodies.
And free radicals are?
Think of them like these little troublemakers running around, causing damage to our cells. And that damage, it contributes to aging and can even play a role in various diseases. So antioxidants, they're like the good guys that come in and neutralize those free radicals.
Got it. So coffee's like giving our bodies a superhero squad to fight off those cellular villains.
Exactly. And all this antioxidant power is linked to a bunch of benefits. Reduced inflammation, support for healthy cells, protection against oxidative stress.
Which is linked to, heart disease and cancer, right?
Yep, that's right.
Wow. Okay, but I have to ask, isn't coffee supposed to be bad for your heart? Doesn't it, raise your blood pressure?
It's true that caffeine can cause a temporary increase in blood pressure.
Right.
But get this, moderate coffee consumption is actually associated with a lower risk of heart disease and stroke.
Hold on, I thought coffee was bad for your heart.
Yeah, no, it seems kind of counterintuitive, right?
Totally. So how does that even work?
Well, coffee has these unique compounds that actually support heart health in all sorts of ways. For example, they can help reduce inflammation and improve how your blood vessels function, which means better circulation overall.
So it's not just about the caffeine, it's about all these other amazing compounds in coffee working together.
That's right.
But still, moderation.
Also, always, drinking tons of coffee, especially if it's loaded with sugar and cream, that's not going to do you any favors. But a few cups of black coffee, or maybe with a little milk, that seems to be the sweet spot.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, for all you fitness buffs out there, listen up. Coffee isn't just good for your brain, it can actually help you perform better physically too.
Absolutely. Caffeine is a well-known pre-workout booster.
Makes sense. I always feel super energized after my morning coffee.
That's because caffeine actually increases your adrenaline levels, and that gets your body ready for intense physical activity.
Oh, interesting. So it's like my body's going into workout mode before I even hit the gym.
Exactly. And this adrenaline boost can lead to better endurance, you burn more fat, your muscles contract better.
So many benefits. How much can caffeine actually boost my performance?
Well, some studies have found that it can improve performance by as much as 12%.
12%. That's huge. It's like having a natural performance enhancer right there in my cup.
It really is.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try that pre-workout coffee thing. What's the best timing for that?
About 30 to 60 minutes before your workout seems to be the ideal window.
Got it, thanks. Okay, so now for the last and maybe the most important benefit of coffee. Ready for this? Coffee might actually help reduce the risk of some seriously scary diseases like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and even certain types of cancer.
This is where the research gets really exciting. There are actually studies that have found a link between regular coffee consumption and a lower risk of developing these conditions.
Wait a minute, coffee can actually help prevent those diseases?
It seems that way. The compounds in coffee, including caffeine, appear to protect our brains and bodies from damage.
How so?
Well, they help reduce oxidative stress and inflammation, both of which play a role in those diseases.
Wow, so it's like coffee is working on multiple levels to protect our health.
Exactly. And caffeine, in particular, has been shown to have potential in blocking certain brain pathways that can lead to neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's.
Wow, that is amazing. So we're not just talking about like a quick energy boost or a mood lift. We're talking about potentially protecting our health for years to come.
That's right. And the statistics are pretty impressive. Regular coffee consumption is actually associated with up to a 60% reduced risk of developing Parkinson's disease.
60%. That is remarkable. I mean, it sounds like coffee is way more than just a daily ritual. It's like a long-term investment in our health.
I think you're right. The more we learn about coffee, the more we realize that it's not just about that initial energy kick. It really has the potential to make a real difference in our overall well-being.
I totally agree. Okay, well, I think we've covered a ton of ground today. And honestly, I'm already rethinking my whole relationship with coffee. But before we get too excited, let's take a moment to consider the potential downsides of coffee and, how we can all find their perfect balance for our own individual needs.
It's amazing to think that coffee can do all those things for us, but we all know that too much of a good thing can backfire, right?
Oh, absolutely. Moderation is key with anything, and coffee's no exception.
We've all had those days, where you have one too many cups and end up feeling jittery and kind of anxious.
Yep, that's your body telling you you've probably hit your caffeine limit for the day.
So how much coffee is too much? Is there a magic number we should all stick to?
I wish it were that easy. Unfortunately, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. Everyone's tolerance to caffeine is different.
So some people can handle more coffee than others.
Exactly. Things like your body weight, your genetics, even how much sleep you had, all that can affect how your body reacts to caffeine. So it really is all about listening to your body and figuring out what works best for you.
Exactly. If you start noticing any negative side effects like jitters, trouble sleeping, anxiety, things like that, it's probably a good idea to cut back on the coffee.
And maybe switch to decaf later in the day.
That's a great strategy. Decaf still has some of those beneficial compounds like the antioxidants we talked about, but without the caffeine kick.
So you can still enjoy the ritual of a cup of coffee without worrying about getting too wired.
Exactly. And it's worth remembering that everyone's coffee journey is different. What works for one person might not work for another. There's no right or wrong way to enjoy coffee, as long as you're doing it in a way that makes you feel good.
I love that. So whether you're a black coffee fanatic, a latte lover, or a decaf devotee, the most important thing is to find what works best for you.
Absolutely. And, I think it's also important to remember that coffee is so much more than just a drink. It's often a ritual, a social connection, a moment of pause in our busy days.
Yeah, there's something almost meditative about that daily cup of coffee. The aroma, the warmth, the taste. It can be a really grounding experience.
It is. It's a chance to slow down, savor the moment, and just appreciate the simple things in life.
And for a lot of people, coffee is also a social thing. Think about all those coffee dates with friends, catching up over a latte, sharing stories.
Exactly. It's a way to build relationships, strengthen our social bonds.
So coffee really is this multifaceted thing. It's a source of energy and focus. It's packed with health benefits. It's a cultural phenomenon, a social connector, a personal ritual.
I think you nailed it. When we approach coffee with that kind of appreciation, we open ourselves up to all the amazing things it has to offer.
I completely agree. Well, before we wrap up our deep dive, I'd love to get your advice for anyone who's maybe new to coffee or looking to, tweak their coffee habits for better health. Where should they start? It can be a little overwhelming, right? Where do you even start?
Well, I always recommend starting slow and just kind of experimenting to see what you like.
So, maybe try a small cup in the morning and see how you feel.
Exactly. And pay attention to how your body responds. Some people are super sensitive to caffeine, so even a little bit can be too much.
That's true. Okay, but what about for people who are already drinking coffee but want to make some changes to, be healthier?
Well, even small tweaks can make a big difference. If you're trying to cut back on caffeine, you could start by just reducing your serving size.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Or try switching to a blend that has a little less caffeine.
Or maybe even start incorporating some decaf into their routine.
Exactly. Decaf can be a great option, especially later in the day when you don't want that caffeine keeping you up.
Right. What about if you're trying to cut back on sugar?
Well, you could try gradually decreasing the amount you add. Or maybe explore some natural sweeteners like honey or maple syrup.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Even a small change can add up over time, right?
Absolutely. And remember all those heart-healthy benefits we talked about. Black coffee or coffee with a splash of milk, that's the way to go.
I've actually been trying to drink my coffee black more often. It's definitely an adjustment, but I'm getting used to it.
That's great. And if you're finding it tough to totally ditch the sugar, even a sprinkle of cinnamon or nutmeg can add a really nice flavor.
Yeah, without all the extra sugar.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think the big takeaway here is that it's really all about finding what works best for you.
I agree. It's a journey, not a destination. We can all enjoy coffee in a way that supports our health and makes us feel good.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, I think we've covered just about everything we wanted to about the surprising health benefits of coffee.
Yeah, we've learned a lot today.
But before we sign off, I have one last question for you, our listener. Now that you know all about these amazing benefits, from boosting your brain power to protecting your heart, how will you change your coffee routine to make it work even better for you?
It's definitely something to think about. Coffee can be so much more than just a quick pick-me-up.
Absolutely. And hey, if you're already a coffee lover, maybe this deep dive has given you a whole new appreciation for that morning cup.
I hope so. It's amazing how something as simple as coffee can have such a big impact on our lives.
Well said. Cheers to coffee, the unexpected superhero of the beverage world.
Cheers to that.